Good morning, Mr. Ambassador Lee.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us at this morning meeting. Good morning to our students, faculty, and guests, and our colleagues at the Political Science Department. Let me just hiss the computer. Mr. Ambassador, you took charge of this high-rank position a couple of years ago, back in 2022. Is that right?
Yes, I was nominated Ambassador of Vietnam to Israel in October 2021. And it took me some time to prepare to arrive. And I came here on the 8th of May 2022.
All right. And just a couple of minutes ago, we spent some time with the Open University's president, and you mentioned the fact that 31 years ago, Israel and Vietnam established full diplomatic relationships. And what I missed in that talk was the fact that actually exactly 1 year ago, in 25th of July 2023, Israel and Vietnam signed their free trade agreement, in which I'm certain you played a central role.
Thank you very much for reminding me of all these important milestones in our bilateral relations between Vietnam and Israel. The two countries signed all the instruments to establish our diplomatic relations on the 12th of July 1993. So after 30 years, we celebrated with all the important and joyful activities last year in July, and especially on the 25th of July 2023, during the visit of our Deputy Prime Minister to Israel. The two countries signed the free trade agreement to pave the way for further exchange of goods between the two countries and two economies, and with the hope that more exchanges of peoples and also flows of capitals, I mean investment in each other economies and industries will be further promoted in the future. And the Vietnam-Israel Free Trade Agreement is something very interesting that it took us almost 10 years from day one to the signing of the signing of the agreement, and now we are working on the all the procedures of the post approval to technical arrangement in order for the agreement to really take effect. Hopefully,
right. Sure.
This year.
And do you already feel any kind of improvement or any kind of growth in both countries' mutual trade?
Yes.
Compared to last year?
Yes, our trade volume grows very steadily. When I came in 2022, it was about 2.2 billion US dollars. Last year, it went up to nearly 2.6 billion US dollars. And we hope that this year it can reach around 3 billion US dollars.
That's impressive. Yes. Right. It is said that the first official or non-official, actually, contact between Vietnam and Israel took place back in 1946 in Paris, where Ho Chi Minh and David Ben-Gurion happened to spend the night in the same hotel. And they became kind of friends, a friendly conversation. Each one was the leader of a liberation movement. And it is said that Ho Chi Minh offered Ben-Gurion a place in Vietnam for all the world Jewry just after the Holocaust and the Second World War. And Ben-Gurion politely refused and said that he's going to establish a Jewish country in Palestine. So there is kind of an historical connection between both countries in that sense as well. And I was wondering if you could enlighten us about the way Vietnamese people view Israel. How much do they know about Israel? What, for instance, is the common knowledge or common opinion about the war in Gaza that's been taking place for almost 1 year now?
Friendship is built through all the contacts and connections. And we really love to track all the events and especially historical events in the relationship between countries. And this is the very reason why I would love to see students joining us in their work, to study more about all the links between our two countries. Started with all our founding fathers of the countries, and those are especially important things for history and for present, and also for future cooperation between our two countries. I would love to join hands with all the students, so if they are interested in writing different pages of history and cooperation between our two countries. For Vietnamese, Israelis and Jewish people are really the source of admiration, right, and inspiration. Given the fact that many people say both Jewish and Vietnamese are very quick learners. Mm-hmm. However, Vietnamese find themselves in a position that they have a lot to learn from the Jewish people and Israelis in particular, because of all the achievements and successes in the national building and development of Israel, all the reputation that Israelis have gained in their startup and innovation efforts, and Israel now seems to championing the world of technology,
right?
And
startup nation, etc.
And this is something Vietnamese really wish to learn from Israelis, and really wish to see further cooperation be enhanced, be initiated, be expanded between two countries and between two peoples, all walks of life, all strata of the society.
Right, thank you for that. Listening to you, I'm thinking about the urgent need to write a course here at the Open University of Israel about Vietnam, because I guess that not too many people in Israel really know the way when talking about Vietnam. People usually think about the Vietnam War between, with the United States of America, being a very good friend of Israel, etc. But as much as I know regarding data, there are about 60,000 to 70,000 Israeli tourists every year in Vietnam, if I'm not wrong about the numbers, which is quite a lot, relatively. And I guess that this number is going to get higher and higher as more people in Israel know more about Vietnam. So this is my task right now. When I'm thinking about it, I should do it quite soon. I was told that you wish to present a short video clip to us in regards to the Geneva conference.
Yes, before presenting to you the one of the biggest milestones in the history of national independence and freedom of Vietnam, I would like to share with you one of the. It can be a lessons that I learned from the Jewish and Israeli culture, is that Vietnam also share something similarities with you, saying that the people of Vietnam have suffered a lot, because the two most devastating and destructive wars of the 20th century, last century, happened in Vietnam.
Right.
During the first Indochina War, we fought against the French, and the second Indochina War, we fought against the American. Mm-hmm. And finally, we won all the battles in order to really be back to live in peace. This is to show that it coincides with the mentality of Israeli people, saying that when we suffer from all the hardships, we won't be showing our patience through all our efforts. And when we can really live in peace again, we must show our tolerance. This is why after 70 years of the ending of the first Indochina War in Vietnam back in 1954, we are very close friends with the French. And after 49 years, 50 years of anniversary, and all the figures going around here, which is important is that in 1973, is 51 years ago, we signed agreement in the Paris conference to end the presence of American in Vietnam. And after that, in 1975, we reunified Vietnam as one. So we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary of reunification next year. And this year is 70th anniversary of Điện Biên Phủ battle and the Geneva conference. And also coincides with the anniversary of the Open University. So we are living in all these anniversaries, all the milestones in the history. So we really show our tolerance in order to move to the next stage. And this is the mentality shared by both Vietnamese and Israelis. And before showing you the video clip on Vietnam, I must say that after 25 years, Vietnam and the US, we normalized our diplomatic relations in 1995, only 2 years after establishing diplomatic relations with Israel.
Right.
And last year, 2023, we really established the strategic partnership with the US comprehensively. So it means that we've gone through all the ups and downs of history, and we are now really in a peaceful cooperation environment. It is thanks to our great suffering, our patience, and our tolerance.
I think it takes also some amount of wisdom, if I might say, to be able to forgive.
Yes.
The wrongdoing of other nations, other people, and atrocities of that war. Here in Israel, usually what we know about the Vietnam War, the second Indochina War, is mostly through Hollywood movies. Some of them American patriotic movies, the stupid stuff, and some of them are more critical. And of course, it was one of the most tragic events of the 20th century, of course. We're not going to dwell into this right now. Just one more question, if you don't mind, before the first video clip. Talking about this kind of Vietnamese policy, if I'm not wrong, it is usually titled as the bamboo policy, right? Being neutral, not fighting with anyone, trying to find the right path for communication with different states. And this usually means also that Vietnam finds itself quite often in good relationships with countries or with states which might be opponent to each other in rivalries or even enemies, such as Israel and Iran. So it would be interesting to hear what you think about this, about the relationships both with Israel and Iran in that sense. How do you do it? How do you manage to keep good relationships with countries which actually can't stand each other, if I might say so?
I think history teaches us so many lessons. And especially for Vietnam, all the suffering have taught us a lesson to be friend and reliable partners and responsible partners of the international community. We try our best over the past 40 years and more, especially starting from 1986 when we opened our economy. We integrate ourselves into the international affairs economically in order to invite all partners around the world who wish to do business with Vietnam, who wish to build cooperation with Vietnam, to join our economic efforts to rebuild our country, to develop our economy, because we had to really, to some extent, start from zero after the war. We went out of the second Indochina War when, at the exit of the American, I think the countries were totally
in ruins.
In ruins. So it took us about 10 years to plan ourselves, to develop our foreign policy, how to engage ourselves with the outside world, and with the success of the đổi mới policy or reforms up until now, and we will celebrate 40th anniversary of the policy in 2026. And with all the efforts put in, especially the introduction of the bamboo tree diplomacy of Vietnam, we have been able to sign free trade agreements with 16 and now 17 partners around the world, including Israel. We open our economy, and Vietnamese economy is one of the widest open economy in the world, with a total trade volume import-export of around 780 billion US dollars, ranging from 740, 760, 780. And the most important thing is that we are buying and we're selling the same amount, meaning that we are buying in, for example, 370 billion US dollars. We are selling out 370 billion US dollars, and we are now among the top 20, sometimes 25 largest trading countries, economies in the world.
Wow.
And this is all the results of the very right foreign policy, which includes the foreign economic policy.
Right, but do you think that Vietnam is able to use this kind of neutrality, which is also a power by itself, in order to help countries such, for instance, as Israel and Iran, to communicate better? Does Vietnam has any kind of role in this sense, in your opinion?
Well, for years now, starting from 1986, later on 1991, 1996, 2001, 2006, so on and so forth, we gradually develop our foreign policy. And we are really engaging more and more into the international affairs. As I mentioned to you earlier, that Vietnam is now ready to play a role of a responsible member of the international community. And we are acting very proactively within international forum. We are promoting the multilateralism. We participate in all the international affairs. We're joining the all the peace missions by UN and other institutions here and there. We are now present in Africa, in areas in need, and we are also have introducing a lot of a tripartite cooperation model between Vietnam, other donors, and countries in Africa in need of support and help. And we are also very active in ASEAN, in East Asia, in APEC, and we have created a lot of able setting environments for people to dialogue. You may recall that President Trump and leader of North Korea Kim met in Vietnam. So the world of diplomacy is all about meetings. So we facilitated all this, and we will continue to facilitate all the conversations, which is conducive and which is beneficial to all.
That's very interesting. Perhaps now is the time for the first clip.
Yes, thank you. Please.
Thank you.
In November 1953, French forces parachuted into Dien Bien Phu, setting up what was considered to be the strongest military outpost in Indochina with ambitions of expanding their colonial reach into Southeast Asia.
In December 1953, the Central Party Committee and President Ho Chi Minh initiated the Dien Bien Phu campaign, led by General Vuong Nguyen Giap, with the objective of obliterating this bastion of colonialism.
The campaign officially began on March 13, 1954. Over 5 days of fierce combat, Vietnamese forces swiftly overran the Him Lam and Dak Lap strongholds, neutralizing 2,000 enemy soldiers and downing 12 aircraft. On March 30th, an attack was launched on the eastern hills of the central sector, resulting in 2,500 enemy casualties. The momentum continued with a third offensive on May 1st, overrunning the remaining eastern and western strongholds. By May 4th, the enemy deployed their last reserve parachute battalion into the fray at Dien Bien Phu. However, by May 7th, General de Castries and his entire command were captured, culminating in a decisive victory for Vietnamese forces. This victory not only concluded 9 years of prolonged resistance against French colonialism but also significantly boosted the morale of oppressed nations worldwide, inspiring them to fight for independence. It led to the signing of the Geneva Accords, ending the war and restoring peace in Indochina. The Dien Bien Phu victory remains an undying epic of heroism in the era of Ho Chi Minh, a luminous, golden milestone in the annals of Vietnamese history.
So, would you like to elaborate a bit on what we saw, just so?
This is the great battle in the history of the army and military world, and it reminds us of the significant event in the history of Vietnam that we won the battle on the 7th of May 1954. And this victory led to people to the decision to talk. And finally, they sat down in Geneva and they discussed all about the situation in Indochina and the war in Vietnam. And today we are sitting here exactly on the 21st of July. And 21st of July 1954, all the kind of agreements reached. They finally signed the Geneva Accords to end all the hostilities in Vietnam, to embark on the new stage of the engagement of all parties in Indochina, and it's an interesting and very significant and meaning coincidence that I'm sitting here in the studio of the Open University exactly 70 years after the Geneva Accords and the conference. So this is wonderful memory for me, and I would like to share with people who are leading the university together with all our dear students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm wondering about the relationships between Israel and Vietnam in another sense, about Vietnamese media, which I really don't know anything about, I confess. But please, if you could enlighten us in regards to the way people in Vietnam see Israel, how often are they reported about the situation in the Middle East, about the Gaza war, etc., etc. Is it a topic that interests people, the average person in Vietnam?
Vietnam media is extremely open.
Right.
We follow the situation, we follow the international affairs every day. Before, in the past, all Vietnamese are watching TV, the prime time, 7 p.m. All people stop doing things and watching TV. And especially my mother, she never travels elsewhere, but she knows everything about the war and
My
Vietnam.
mother is the same.
About Vietnam. And we cover all corners of the world, from political developments to economic to even entertainment, sporting events, so on and so forth. Vietnamese know more about the Euro Cup than anybody else. Vietnamese know more about the Copa America than anybody else. Vietnamese are now eager to watch the opening of the Olympic Games in Paris, like more than anybody else. So it's very open, especially with the introduction of the new technology, of the social media, and other smart instruments and devices that they can use. They are updated almost every minute, and I think it's real time. And they follow with keen interest. They follow with, sometimes we must be, frankly speaking, with anxiety, and especially with hope. Over the past 3 years, all Vietnamese are speaking among us, and they really want me to transfer and to extend the message that Vietnamese people are really peace-loving people. This is because also the fact that we suffer too much in our history, and now we are leading peace advocacy, and we wish the war everywhere around the world, including the one in Ukraine right now and the one in the Middle East here, to stop as soon as possible, for things to be back to normal, and to give opportunities for people to really earn their living, to support the family,
to live,
to enjoy the life. Yes, this is the message from the Vietnamese people.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Regarding the opening of the Olympic Games in Paris, I cannot but recall the long, almost 100 years, right, of colonialist rule, French colonialist rule in Vietnam or Indochina in general, including Cambodia and Laos, of course.
Yes.
So many novels, so many literature, cinematic projects, etc., about this period, and still one cannot but wonder, how do Vietnamese people feel today about this period of time, about France? You're saying before that Vietnamese people know how to forgive,
Yes.
and that right now the relationships with America, with the States, are seem to lack any kind of resentment from the past. Is it the same with France? What would you say?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, Vietnamese are extremely tolerant. And the French came to Vietnam in 1858, and they left Vietnam in 1945, and later the north of Vietnam 1945, 1954, and totally in 1956. So all the kind of the gradual exits from Vietnam, and we established diplomatic relations with France in 1973.
All right.
At the exit of the American. So it's like 20 years is 2 decades is a time frame for people to rethink and replan and redevelop their policy, so on and so forth. And we are now still member of the French-speaking community around the world. We are one active member of La Francophonie, and already in 1997 we hosted the Francophonie Summit in Vietnam.
All right.
In 1997, the economy was still at the early stage of market orientation. And we successful in hosting that summit, gathering all the heads of states and governments of all the French-speaking countries and states around the world in Hanoi. And immediately building on that experience, immediately 1 year after that, in 1998, we hosted the first ASEAN, the Southeast Asian Nation Association Summit in Hanoi. When I was a student at the university, and we witnessed those extremely happy major events in the countries, as in the capacity of students learning about history, learning about foreign relations and international affairs, and we enjoy a lot our relations since establishment of diplomatic relations with the France. And French coming back to Vietnam, doing many things in order to build friendship, and we still have the system of bilingual class, where children can go and learn Vietnamese and French at the same time. We have very strong university cooperation among the universities member of Francophonie, and there is a rather big community of Vietnamese in France, about 400,000 of them living there.
Right.
And Paris is one of the first destination for direct flights between Hanoi and Paris, and between Vietnam and France. And for the Olympic Games, we enjoy a lot the Olympic Games because it's all about the sporting cooperation between the two countries as well. And we send our people, our athletes, to join all the events in France for many years now. And for your information, students, my father used to be in the Olympic movement. Right. He was active in the National Olympic Committee of Vietnam. He joined the Centenary Olympic Games celebration in 1994 in Paris. The first gathering of all the Olympians was in Paris, I think in Switzerland in 1894.
All right.
And they celebrated that
before the first
before the Olympic Games. All the people sat down.
It was in '86, right? In '96.
The first Olympic game was 1896 in
Athens.
In Athens, yeah. And now we are very excited about 2024. It's gonna be in 1 week.
I'm wondering about what you're saying about the relationships between France and Vietnam today, because on one hand, one may become a bit cynical and talk about the trauma, or even, so to speak, the Stockholm syndrome, being in regards to the Vietnamese affection to France. On the other hand, I think it's very optimist when you come to think about it. The ability to forgive, once again, and to look forward to the future, and to celebrate the benefits of the mutual benefits in those relationships, which I find really, really interesting. Regarding the Vietnamese economy, if I might ask you about this just for a short while. I'm not an expert in economy, but as much as I know, the Vietnamese economy is mostly based on agriculture, right? And I know that there are also other manufacturers of high-tech, cellular phones, etc. But how does the government of Vietnam treat this situation? Is the official policy intended at keeping it in the same phase, indulging the agriculture, etc., or are there any attempts of making Vietnam more technological, so to speak?
The structure of an economy elsewhere around the world, I think it includes agriculture, industries, and services. And the economy of Vietnam developing over the past, we say it, 40 years, we step by step shift our structure towards more industry and services. if we look back to the past, it was considered like the entire Vietnamese economy was agriculture, like 80–90% of our turnover is from agriculture. But we're shifting, and until now, there are about 60% of our economic activities are still in and rely on agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 40% are gearing to industry and services. And the government gives a lot of incentives to industrial development
mm-hmm.
and providing services in Vietnam. And I would love to mention to you that Vietnam is now very much updated to the world, especially technologically. Anything deployed elsewhere, we have it in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Like 5G is now becoming popular in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. All the e-transactions are now available in Vietnam. All the kind of e-commerce platforms are now available in Vietnam for people to shop. And everything can be done, I think, mostly online in Vietnam for the moment. And industrial developments, we introduce our policy to attract a lot of foreign direct investment in all the sectors in Vietnam. I think when we speak about agriculture, it is also like technology-based agriculture these days, mm-hmm. in order to increase all the productivity. And I'm sure that Israeli companies are strongly present mm-hmm. in Vietnam these days, supplying all the solutions, the technical and technological solution and high-tech services to Vietnam as well. So the whole economy is now moving quickly, and industries and services contributing much greater compared to agriculture mm-hmm. to the total GDP of a country. It is a small examples that I love to share with you, that we are now always top 5, top 10 in the world in aquaculture, in food, especially rice, tea, coffee, pepper, and everything coming from the sea and from the land. We have one of the largest delta, which is Mekong Delta in the southern part of Vietnam, which can easily feed most of the needs of people when it comes to rice.
Right.
And for industrial productions, let's take an example of textile. We produce a year, I think, between 500 to 700 million pairs of shoes in Vietnam. So anything you buy, you may consider that something from Vietnam as well.
No worries about walking in Vietnam.
And one example is, which is very high tech now and very industrialized now, is Samsung Korea investing in Vietnam, opening different factories elsewhere, and they export from Vietnam all the electronics devices with the total volume of around $70 billion from Vietnam. So you may use your Samsung phones and tab and other devices made in Vietnam.
Sure. Thank you for this. There was another video clip which you were interested to show us, right?
I think
this
we have many more to share with you. I hope we have time.
All right, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Asaf, if you may.
Vietnam's economy grew 8.02% in 2022, the highest rate recorded in the 2011 to 2022 period. economic indicators reflect the strong recovery of Vietnam's economy. It logged $27.7 billion in foreign direct investment. Disbursement of foreign capital stood at nearly $22.4 billion, up 13.5% year-on-year, and the highest rate in the past 5 years. The Consumer Price Index rose 3.15% year-on-year. Trade turnover set a new record of over $730 billion, with Vietnam enjoying a trade surplus of $11 billion, or more than 3 times higher than in 2021. Tourism has been a bright spot for the economy. After Vietnam reopened its borders to foreign visitors from March 15th, the tourism sector has gradually recovered and posted growth. Foreign visitors exceeded 3.66 million in 2022, 23 times higher than in 2021. Domestic visitors surpassed 101 million, a rise 168% year-on-year. Notably, the economic structure shifted in a positive direction. The agroforestry fisheries sector accounted for less than 12% of GDP, while the industry and construction sector made up 38% and the service sector 41%. The country's digital economy contributed significantly to the economy, with revenues estimated at $148 billion, an increase of more than 10% year-on-year. Vietnam leads Southeast Asia in digital economic growth. Its total value of digital economic goods in 2022 is estimated at $23 billion, up some 28% year-on-year.
Well, we can say that Vietnam had a strong macroeconomic performance in 2022, and the economy is expected to grow by 7.2%. And this is a remarkable result, particularly considering the economic slowdown experienced in the rest of the world.
Vietnam's economic stability has been recognized by international ratings agencies such as Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch Ratings. At the end of 2022, Fitch Ratings ranked Vietnam VP with a positive outlook. Moody's Investor Service upgraded the country's long-term national credit rating to BA2 from BA3 with a stable outlook. Media in countries such as the US, Germany, Russia, Thailand, Singapore, and Japan have cited the confidence of experts and businesses in the stability and development of Vietnam's economy. These outcomes were attributed to the timely guidelines and decisions from the party, the state, and the government in the new normal, reopening Vietnam's border to foreign visitors, reforming administrative procedures, improving the investment climate, and stepping up anti-corruption efforts.
Vietnam's economic achievements this year were very impressive, with GDP growth of over 8%. With this outcome, it has among the highest economic growth rates in the region and the world.
No, I think Vietnam's growth story and economic achievements are really making waves around the world. They have been extremely impressive, and in fact Vietnam is clocking at one of the fastest growing economies globally.
Major decisions were made for the first time to create important foundations and to orient the country's socio-economic development in the years to come. They include Politburo resolutions on socio-economic development and ensuring national defense and security in the 6 economic regions, and the government's resolution on the National Master Plan for the 2021 to 2030 period and Vision to 2050.
Vietnam's economic growth is very impressive, and especially so when you look at the global fiscal situation where we're seeing a contraction really in most parts of the world. I think this says a lot about Vietnam's approach to post-COVID recovery. I've seen from the government of Vietnam a real prioritisation on recovery and its policies, and I think we're seeing an impact of that in a very positive way in Vietnam.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, Vietnam was one of only a few countries to record positive growth. I believe that the measures and policies applied by the Vietnamese government to promote economic growth are worth studying and applying in other countries.
Vietnam encountered many difficulties and challenges in 2022, but most analysts have expressed a belief that it will continue to overcome the difficulties and maintain growth next year thanks to its resilience and adaptability to fluctuations.
All right, thank you for this. Interesting and also very much connected to our conversation just prior to that short video.
Yes.
I was wondering about the sometimes angry, sometimes reluctant giant dragon next to your borders, China, of course. Yes. China and Vietnam had been sometimes in collision, sometimes even in a state of war. And right now, as much as I understand, there is an attempt to cooperate with each other between both countries. Could you elaborate on this?
Yeah, China and Vietnam, we are also comprehensive strategic partners in all affairs. And China and Vietnam, we're sharing borders, both the land border and also maritime borders. And we have so many things to cooperate. Like many other countries around the world, especially neighboring countries, we share different pages and chapters of history. There's something sometimes up, sometimes down. The cooperation between Vietnam and China is extremely close because also the fact that historically Chinese people used to be in Vietnam for 1,000 years. So they started to really take control of Vietnam from the year like around 40 up until the year 1938 Anno Domini. So it's like we say it's like 1,000 years.
Yes.
We are living together and we are taking in a lot of elements from the Yangtze and other kind of river basins, civilizations from China. And there is something interesting for students to get to know about is that we mention a lot about the words Indochina. So Indochina it means India and China.
Yes.
So Vietnam is divided into two regions of taking in the civilization from India and civilization from China. Some of the influences we have right now. So when you come to Vietnam, for example, you visit Da Nang and Hue and Hoi An. Those are the great tourist attractions for international tourists, including Israelis. You will see that when you move, you cross the pass through the mountains, you enter a new region. You will see that the lifestyle, the culture, identity is a little bit different. And then you move north to Hanoi, Halong Bay, Sapa, you will see something different. So this is the great attraction of Vietnam because of its cultural civilization diversities, and especially the fact that Vietnam is a very long and narrow country from the north to the south. So you go little by little, you discover new things. You enjoy new things, and and all the chapters of the history between China and Vietnam through the empires or the royal families. There was a great extent of exchanges between all the royal families of Vietnam and China, leading up to the stage where the People's Republic of China was born in 1949. Mm-hmm. 4 years after the Democratic Republic of Vietnam was born in 1945 on the September the 2nd. So we were born. We declare our independence 4 years.
You were the first.
Before PRC officially taking leadership of China mm-hmm. in entirety. China is more fortunate because they don't have to suffer any wars after that. From 1949, they focus more on economic development and so on and so forth, and national building. Vietnam, since 1945, we had to go through other wars for independence and freedom and development. So China, when we started to build our country according to the Marxism and socialism theory, we are sharing the approach, and during the two Indo-China wars, China supported Vietnam, all right. Wholeheartedly, in order to help bring back peace to the region in general, right. And especially to Vietnam. Yes, and also to with that, China can also live in peace and continue to develop the economy. And with all the peace and peaceful time they enjoy, they are now becoming the second strongest, largest economy in the world. Mm-hmm. And there's a great connection between Vietnam and China economically. We are our trade between Vietnam and China is now going up to nearly $200 billion a year. So this is very significant.
It is, but does Vietnam look after the Chinese model regarding the preservation of the Marxist system, communist system, and still having a totally open market?
The way we introduce our economic development model is a combination of wisdoms and experience of countries around the world. Mm-hmm. I take the example of Israel as well. All right. When you started to build your new Eretz Israel, mm-hmm. You came back with all the kibbutzim, all the cooperative economy, mm-hmm. All the we say it's centrally planning sure. Economy and approach. So it's to us it really started in 1948 when you do this, but it's for sure it's years before that you were focusing on agriculture development, on kibbutzim and so on and so forth, and it's also very interesting that Menachem Begin introduced the market elements to the Israeli economy mm-hmm. In the end of 70s, beginning 80s, mm-hmm. In order to combine all the forces from the centrally planning and things regulated through demand and supplies. So this is something Vietnam also have done. I think only after 6 or 7 years after Menachem Begin introduced that market elements to your economy, Vietnam started đổi mới, reform policy.
All right.
So this is something experienced from countries around the world, and we are consistent with the socialist building in Vietnam, and it has been tested through time, and it has been proven that this is the right policy, the right theoretical basis and platform for us to thrive until now. We are now, as you see in the video clip, we are now one of the most rapid developing economies in the world.
That's amazing.
And we are now the size of the economy is around the 450 billion US dollars, the same size of Israel. And now is the moment where we should learn a lot from Israel, because you have 10 million people, you can produce 400 to 500 billion US dollars a year, whereas we are 100 million people, we can only produce only 450 to 500, so the same amount. So it's just when we have too many people, why we cannot promote our manpower, our workforce in order to reach to that level. And China is having 1.4 billion people. The economy is so huge. They develop very quickly. They are leading the world in some of the technological aspect. We can name something like high-speed train, for example. It took them like 15 years to cover the whole country with high-speed train. Right. So this is something amazing. So I think that the policy that we share, the theories that we work on, consider it's like the platform, the basis for our policy planning. I think it's proven right, and we continue to share. And there is the good consultation mechanism between China and Vietnam, how we move to the next stage, how we develop our economy, and continue to maintain our mainstay and our position and our role in the international affairs.
Right, thank you for this. I'm just thinking about maybe being able to collect a couple of questions from our audience, 2 or 3 questions, quick ones, with quick answers. So let me just have a peek at the questions. Some really long ones, which I'm not really sure that we'll have the time to reply. There are some questions that we already dealt with in our short conversation. Just a minute, please. All right. Ofer Erez is asking about the development of Iran, not just economically or in industrial means, but also regarding the social changes that were made or happened in Vietnam. And he's basically asking whether Vietnam would declare itself as influenced by Western values in the last 20 years in regards to human rights. That's the emphasis. That's his question.
Yeah, human rights are strongly protected and promoted in Vietnam. Let's say something like we have a greater and greater participation of women in all the affairs of the Vietnamese society, and the practice of religions in Vietnam is very liberal, total liberal. We have the presence of all the religions around the world. 80% of Vietnamese thinking Buddhist, but about 20 to 30 million Vietnamese practicing Buddhism.
All right.
We having the second largest Catholic community in Southeast Asia. 7 million people.
Right.
7 million people. I used to visit. Visit the mosque in Hanoi when I was a student, and the churches in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh cities are tourist attraction. We have about 400,000 Muslims in Vietnam as well. We also have Baha'i. We have people practicing Hinduism as well, and we also have people following Protestantism as well. I mean that whenever you come to Vietnam and you practice a religion, you have the worshipping places of your own. So Kabat are present now in Hanoi, in Da Nang, and Ho Chi Minh City. You can go for Shabbat ceremonies and other practices, worshipping that you wish to do in Vietnam. And we have, I think, so far, if I'm not wrong, 700 different newspapers, e-newspapers, printing newspapers, media outlet, and so on and so forth in Vietnam. And at the grassroots level, people, you go out in the street in Vietnam, people speaking about everything.
All right.
And everything very open.
Okay.
Yes.
That's encouraging. I'm just wondering how it would look like if Ben Gurion would have accepted Ho Chi Minh's offer regarding accepting the Jews in Vietnam after the Holocaust. But currently there are hardly any Jews in Vietnam, right? Regarding practicing Judaism.
I think these days there are people doing business in Vietnam. So some of them, I think, settle down for kind of not really like you see people going to America and stay there and so on and so forth. But I think that there are some people having kind of long-term stay, not up to the level of permanent residence in Vietnam. But they do stay in Vietnam. They settle down. They do business in Vietnam. Jewish people in Vietnam.
Right.
And I heard about one story that I need to verify as well. There was one Israeli woman getting married with a Vietnamese man, and she settled down in Ho Chi Minh City in some business like jewelry or something like that. So it's just something that we see that in the world we are living today, people are moving freely from one place to another whenever they feel like staying in one place, they will settle down. Right. So that's the thing. And for Jewish people in general, you travel the world extensively. You go back and forward. And you find you find all the you find all the opportunities for any of your kind of brain matter promotion. So this is something extremely appealing about Jewish and Israelis. That is something that Vietnamese is really wish to sit down to talk and really to work out our solutions according to the Tikkun Olam culture together.
All right, yes. That's interesting. Yes. I have one last question before we move forward to our last also video clip. Which describes the 1954 battle. Regarding Vietnam's role in ASEAN in this extremely interesting organization. as much as I remember, in 1978, when Vietnam invaded Cambodia to end the terrible regime of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, the ASEAN countries did not really look at this Vietnamese policy in a positive way. They criticized it, and I think Vietnam did great when it did it. And I think that countries in general should do such things if not nobody else does it, in order to save people's life and to end cases of genocide, as happened with Vietnam and Cambodia. But right now, Vietnam is, I think, together with Indonesia, the most prominent member of ASEAN. Is that right?
Yes. This is all about the formula that we shared earlier. In our relations with ASEAN in general and with Cambodia in particular, we suffer extremely during those years in the 20th century. Then we were very much patient to see countries changing their minds, shifting their policy towards friendly relationship with Vietnam. And it is because of the fact that we respect the fact that each countries and people have their own priorities, their own calculations at different stages in the history. And Vietnamese are extremely tolerant. We're tolerant with everybody, with Chinese, with American, with French, with Cambodian, and with all ASEAN countries. And with that, we sacrifice ourselves for peace and stability and development. We send our people to Cambodia to save their lives and to rebuild their country and society. And after that, gradually, little by little, other ASEAN countries realized that it was the great sacrifice of the Vietnamese people, especially when we just got out of the second largest war, one of the largest war in the world in the 20th century, the war against the American. So this is why before 1986, I was telling you that we were starting from zero. Everything was devastated. And we know for sure that solidarity within ASEAN, Southeast Asian nations is key to the development of everybody. And we put a lot of efforts in building ASEAN. We joined ASEAN on the 28th of July 1995. So in 1 week we will celebrate again. And we joined ASEAN, I think, 16 days after we normalized relations with the US in 1995. So the month of July is very special. You know this because we have all the important events happening in the month of July. So, and since 1995, we joined ASEAN, and immediately 3 years later, we hosted, as I mentioned to you, the ASEAN Summit in Vietnam in 1998. And we continue to build with ASEAN to contribute to the development of ASEAN, to have the common say in including Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia in one house, one home, to turn it into ASEAN 10. So in 1999, we are totally 10 ASEAN members all together in ASEAN, covering all the countries, including all the countries. And we embark on a new stage of development in ASEAN. We promote all the platform for peace building, like the ASEAN Forum, for political consultation, like the East Asia Summit, and all other structures of ASEAN +1, +3 to work with other partners. We have a scheme like ASEAN plus China, ASEAN plus US, ASEAN plus Australia, just Japan, Korea, and ASEAN plus 3 is China, Japan, Korea, and many other kind of formulas that ASEAN initiated. And you see that the East Asia Summit is something you can see all the top leaders of all the superpowers or the most powerful countries joining with ASEAN, including China, the US, Russia, India, and everybody.
The European Union as well?
And the whole European Union joining us to discuss ways and means for prosperity of not only ASEAN but the world at large. So this is something that extremely touching the hearts of every people, and this is a great effort that we put in. And I'm very happy to share with you how we contribute to ASEAN and how we are active and proactive in ASEAN in bringing forward ASEAN. And ASEAN now is considered some of the references for Middle East to build, to open your Abraham Accord for regional integration. And I think it is rightly to say that people refer to ASEAN for the Middle East is something can be really valid for the future of both regions and for the future of the world. And I'm here in July, and July is the friendship month between Israel and Vietnam, as we establish our diplomatic relations in July, on the 12th in 1993. So this is the one in a lifetime. This is historical moment for me personally, for the whole of my diplomatic career, that I'm living the month of July in Israel in the middle of all the anniversaries, all the good memories of Vietnam and the world, and the relations between Vietnam and Israel. And I feel so lucky that I'm sharing all those things with you today, exactly on the 21st of July, 2024.
It's really heartwarming. I think this is the time to first thank you so much for joining us this morning for this really enlightening conversation. It's been a pleasure. And I have to apologize in front of our audience that we didn't have the time to reply to all the questions that were raised in the chat. And we'll be watching another video clip right now. And afterwards, your military attaché will say a few words.
Yes, my military attaché will say a few words, and then I will also say a few words of farewell to all the students. Yes.
So we're ready for the third video clip, if you may, Asaf. Thank you.
Yes.
Ngày mùng 2 tháng 9 năm 1945, Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh đọc bản tuyên ngôn độc lập, khai sinh ra nước Việt Nam Dân Chủ Cộng Hòa. Một tháng sau khi tuyên bố độc lập, ngày mùng 3 tháng 10 năm 1945, Bộ Ngoại giao Việt Nam đã ra thông cáo về chính sách ngoại giao của Chính phủ Việt Nam Dân Chủ Cộng Hòa, khẳng định mong muốn hòa bình, thân thiện, thành thực hợp tác với tất cả các quốc gia trên thế giới, trên tinh thần bình đẳng, tương ái và khẳng định quyết tâm bảo vệ nền độc lập của Việt Nam. Trong 2 năm 1945-1946, với đường lối đối ngoại khôn khéo, mềm dẻo của Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh, Chính phủ Việt Nam Dân Chủ Cộng Hòa chấp nhận một số nhân nhượng có nguyên tắc để bảo vệ nền độc lập, đồng thời tranh thủ mọi khả năng có thể để duy trì nền hòa bình cho đất nước. Tuy nhiên, thực dân Pháp quyết tâm không từ bỏ chế độ đô hộ thuộc địa và quay lại xâm lược Việt Nam. Hưởng ứng lời kêu gọi của Đảng ta và Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh, tháng 12 năm 1946, toàn thể nhân dân Việt Nam đã đứng lên chống thực dân Pháp để bảo vệ nền độc lập, tự do của đất nước với tinh thần thà hy sinh tất cả, chứ không chịu mất nước, không chịu làm nô lệ. Cuộc kháng chiến chống thực dân Pháp đã kéo dài 9 năm, với đỉnh cao là chiến thắng Điện Biên Phủ, lừng lẫy Nam Châu, chấn động địa cầu vào ngày 7 tháng 5 năm 1954, tạo điều kiện thúc đẩy các bên tham dự Hội nghị Geneva bàn về vấn đề Đông Dương. Hội nghị Geneva 1954 được triệu tập bắt nguồn từ kết quả của Hội nghị tứ cường giữa Liên Xô, Mỹ, Anh, Pháp được tổ chức tại Berlin. Mục đích chính của hội nghị này là để giải quyết vấn đề Triều Tiên và chiến tranh tại Đông Dương. Một tuần sau khi nổ ra chiến dịch Điện Biên Phủ, tướng Elie, Tổng tham mưu trưởng quân đội Pháp, đã cảnh báo rằng cuộc tấn công Điện Biên Phủ của Việt Minh chắc chắn là để giành một thắng lợi chính trị lớn nhằm gây ảnh hưởng đến dư luận Pháp và cho phe Cộng sản có thể đàm phán trên thế mạnh tại Geneva. Ngày 8 tháng 5 năm 1954, đúng một ngày sau chiến thắng Điện Biên Phủ lịch sử, Hội nghị Geneva bàn về Đông Dương khai mạc với sự tham gia của đại diện 9 bên. Đoàn đại biểu Việt Nam Dân Chủ Cộng Hòa do Phó Thủ tướng kiêm quyền Bộ trưởng Bộ Ngoại giao Phạm Văn Đồng làm trưởng đoàn bước vào hội nghị với tư thế của người chiến thắng. Tại phiên họp toàn thể thứ hai, ngày 10 tháng 5 năm 1954, Việt Nam đã đưa ra đề nghị 8 điểm về một giải pháp toàn diện cả về quân sự và chính trị cho vấn đề Đông Dương. Trong khi đó, đoàn Pháp kiên quyết chỉ giải quyết vấn đề quân sự. Trước đó, phái đoàn Việt Nam Dân Chủ Cộng Hòa cũng đã kiên trì đấu tranh để lực lượng kháng chiến Pathet Lào và Khmer Issarak được tham dự hội nghị, nhưng các nước lớn đã không đồng ý.
Nguyên tắc của ta là gì? Là hòa bình, thống nhất, độc lập, chủ quyền, toàn vẹn lãnh thổ. Về Pháp là phải rút quân khỏi Việt Nam, Lào và Campuchia. Còn về chính trị đó, sau 2 năm thì hiệp thương tổng tuyển cử.
Các bên tham dự hội nghị Geneva đều có những lợi ích chiến lược khác nhau, song cơ bản đều mong muốn tìm một giải pháp chấm dứt xung đột Đông Dương, đáp ứng cao nhất lợi ích của mình. Như vậy, vấn đề Đông Dương tại Hội nghị Geneva 1954 đã trở thành một vấn đề quốc tế nóng bỏng tại thời điểm đó, bị tác động bởi tương quan so sánh lực lượng của các bên tham dự hội nghị.
Theo tôi, với dự báo cho rằng các lực lượng quân sự nước ngoài có thể can thiệp trực tiếp, các lãnh đạo đảng, đặc biệt là Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh, đã trở nên cảnh giác hơn sau chiến thắng Điện Biên Phủ. Và theo tôi, hiểu được thực tế này là điều cần thiết để hiểu được lý do tại sao Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh lại quyết định đàm phán sau chiến thắng Điện Biên Phủ và tại sao các nhà lãnh đạo Việt Nam lại chấp nhận Hiệp định Geneva vào tháng 7 năm 1954.
Sau 75 ngày thương lượng, vào lúc 24 giờ ngày 20 tháng 7 năm 1954, Thứ trưởng Bộ Quốc phòng Tạ Quang Bửu, đại diện cho đoàn Việt Nam Dân Chủ Cộng Hòa, và tướng Henry Detail, đại diện Tổng tư lệnh quân đội Liên hiệp Pháp tại Đông Dương, đã cùng ký các hiệp định để đình chỉ chiến sự tại Việt Nam. Ngày 21 tháng 7 năm 1954, Việt Nam cùng các bên đã ra tuyên bố cuối cùng của hội nghị. Đây là một cuộc đấu tranh kiên quyết, kiên định của đoàn Việt Nam Dân Chủ Cộng Hòa để bảo vệ lập trường chính nghĩa và lợi ích chính đáng của dân tộc. Trong lời kêu gọi ngay sau hội nghị Geneva thành công, Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh đã khẳng định hội nghị Geneva đã kết thúc, ngoại giao ta đã thắng lợi to.
Lý trí và hòa bình đã thắng thế. sau rất nhiều ngày đêm đàm phán, có những lúc tràn đầy hy vọng, có lúc lại tưởng chừng tuyệt vọng, thì hiệp định đã được ký.
Nền độc lập, chủ quyền và toàn vẹn lãnh thổ của Việt Nam đã được xác lập trên một cơ sở pháp lý vững chắc. Quân đội viễn chinh Pháp buộc phải rút khỏi miền Bắc Việt Nam, Lào và Campuchia. Điều này đã vô hiệu hóa hoàn toàn phong tuyến quân sự kiên cố của Pháp ở Bắc Bộ, cho phép các đơn vị của Quân đội Nhân dân Việt Nam quay trở lại tiếp quản nguyên vẹn Hà Nội, Hải Phòng và các vùng đồng bằng sông Hồng mà không phải đổ máu. Hội nghị Geneva 1954 là lần đầu tiên nền ngoại giao non trẻ của Việt Nam tham gia vào một diễn đàn đàm phán đa phương phức tạp với các cường quốc. Chính vì vậy, hội nghị đã để lại nhiều bài học có ý nghĩa và sâu sắc cho ngoại giao Việt Nam. Trong đó, nhiều bài học quý báu đã được Đảng ta vận dụng sáng tạo và phát triển trong suốt quá trình đàm phán, ký kết và thực thi Hiệp định Paris 1973 sau này, cũng như trong công cuộc đổi mới, phát triển đất nước và bảo vệ Tổ quốc ngày nay.
Qua hội nghị Geneva, mình hiểu hơn là các nước nhỏ khi đàm phán những vấn đề của mình phải có độc lập tự chủ. Cho nên đấy là bài học lớn rút ra cho ngoại giao Việt Nam. Và không phải chỉ có cho ngoại giao Việt Nam mà cho các nước khác trên thế giới. Là case study hay đấy.
Bên cạnh những bài học về nguyên tắc như bảo đảm sự lãnh đạo thống nhất tuyệt đối của Đảng, kiên định độc lập, tự chủ trên cơ sở lợi ích quốc gia dân tộc, thì Hiệp định Geneva cũng để lại nhiều bài học còn nguyên giá trị về phương pháp, nghệ thuật ngoại giao mang đậm bản sắc ngoại giao Việt Nam trong thời đại Hồ Chí Minh. Đó là bài học về kết hợp sức mạnh dân tộc với sức mạnh thời đại, đoàn kết dân tộc gắn kết với đoàn kết quốc tế để tạo nên một sức mạnh vô địch. Đó là bài học về kiên định mục tiêu, nguyên tắc, song linh hoạt, biến hóa về sách lược. Trong suốt quá trình đàm phán và ký kết thực thi Hiệp định Geneva, chúng ta cũng luôn kiên trì nguyên tắc hòa bình, độc lập dân tộc và toàn vẹn lãnh thổ, song cơ động, linh hoạt, có sách lược phù hợp với tương quan lực lượng, với bối cảnh tình hình quốc tế và khu vực để giành cái mục tiêu chiến lược cuối cùng. Đó là bài học về luôn luôn coi trọng công tác nghiên cứu, đánh giá và dự báo tình hình. Đó là bài học về sử dụng đối thoại và đàm phán hòa bình để giải quyết bất đồng, xung đột trong quan hệ quốc tế. Đây là bài học mang tính thời đại, nhất là khi nhiều xung đột phức tạp đang diễn ra trên thế giới như hiện nay.
70 năm trôi qua kể từ ngày Hiệp định Geneva được ký kết, Việt Nam đang phát triển năng động, hội nhập quốc tế toàn diện, sâu rộng, có vị thế và uy tín cao trên trường quốc tế.
Vietnam 192 votes.
Các bài học từ quá trình đàm phán, ký kết và thực thi Hiệp định Geneva đến ngày nay vẫn còn nguyên giá trị, nhất là đối với nhiệm vụ xây dựng nền ngoại giao toàn diện, hiện đại, mang đậm bản sắc cây tre Việt Nam. Kế thừa và phát huy tinh thần Hiệp định Geneva và những bài học từ sự nghiệp đấu tranh giải phóng dân tộc, phát triển đất nước và bảo vệ Tổ quốc, Việt Nam tiếp tục đẩy mạnh toàn diện, đồng bộ, có hiệu quả công cuộc đổi mới nhằm thực hiện thắng lợi tầm nhìn, mục tiêu phát triển đất nước mà Đại hội 13 của Đảng đã đề ra, đồng thời nhất quán thực hiện đường lối đối ngoại độc lập, tự chủ, hòa bình, hữu nghị, hợp tác và phát triển, đa dạng hóa, đa phương hóa quan hệ đối ngoại, nỗ lực cùng cộng đồng quốc tế phấn đấu vì hòa bình, độc lập dân tộc, dân chủ và tiến bộ trên thế giới. Trong gần 40 năm tiến hành đổi mới, Việt Nam luôn nhất quán thực hiện đường lối đối ngoại độc lập, tự chủ, đa dạng hóa, đa phương hóa, chủ động, tích cực hội nhập quốc tế toàn diện, sâu rộng, là bạn, là đối tác tin cậy và là thành viên tích cực, có trách nhiệm của cộng đồng quốc tế. Thực hiện đường lối đối ngoại đúng đắn này, đến nay Việt Nam đã thiết lập quan hệ ngoại giao với 193 quốc gia, có quan hệ đối tác chiến lược và đối tác chiến lược toàn diện với 5 nước ủy viên thường trực Hội đồng Bảo an Liên Hợp Quốc, có mạng lưới quan hệ đối tác chiến lược và đối tác toàn diện với 30 nước. Việt Nam là thành viên tích cực, có trách nhiệm của hơn 70 tổ chức, diễn đàn khu vực và quốc tế lớn như Liên Hợp Quốc, ASEAN, WTO, APEC, ASEM, đã và đang đảm nhận nhiều trọng trách quốc tế, đã tham gia và đang đàm phán 19 hiệp định thương mại tự do, tạo nên một mạng lưới liên kết kinh tế rộng mở, với khoảng 60 nền kinh tế trên thế giới. Nắm vững những bài học quý báu của lịch sử chính là điểm tựa vững chắc cho hiện tại và tương lai. Ngày nay, đối ngoại và ngoại giao Việt Nam quán triệt và vận dụng sáng tạo tư tưởng, phong cách nghệ thuật ngoại giao Hồ Chí Minh, luôn biết mình, biết người, biết thời thế, biết dừng, biết biến, định vị Việt Nam trong cục diện thế giới để có đường lối, chính sách phù hợp về phát triển đất nước và hội nhập quốc tế.
So, I hope that you enjoyed this video which you just watched, and I'm happy to have here with us the military attaché of the Vietnamese embassy, Mr. Phuc, which will say a few words about the film we've just saw.
Actually, we have viewed 3 video clips consecutively, and the first one is for me. The first one is on the first part of Mr. Ambassador presentation, because I'm doing my job here as a defense attaché, or you may say defense military attaché. So I would like to add more comment to the Dien Bien Phu victory over French colonialists. I think that it is a famous battle and one of the most glorious victory of Vietnam in modern warfare, and it is also very famous throughout the world. It's not only the victory for Vietnam, but for all the third world countries which suffer from hardship and oppression from the colonialism. So yeah, books, history, and literature have talked a lot about it. So I think that both sides have written a lot of history books, and they are sometimes biased. And I tried my best to be unbiased because I'm a Vietnamese military man. So very, very happy to be here and take pride to be here with the Open University, talking about the victory of Vietnamese People's Army over French army in a showdown. I can say that the decisive one to end the Indo-China War. I think that there are some key factors. I can say that apart from all the books and literature you may come across. Here I think that Vietnam, within only 10 years, because we founded our army in 1944 and we waged the battle in 1954, so only after 10 years of foundation and evolution, we become from a very simple and very modest army, with at the first time consisting of only 44 men, you know, and with 2 revolvers, 17 rifles, and 1 light machine gun. But at the Dien Bien Phu battlefield, it's no more guerrilla warfare. It's something like you may heard about the hit and run tactic, but it's the totally set piece operation, the showdown between the Vietnamese regular troops with the French troops. And as you know that because the historical context here is that French returned to Vietnam, and because they after 9 years of the war resistance waged by Vietnamese, they suffer from many losses. So they want to use Dien Bien Phu as a battlefield in order to use it as a bait to lure the regular troop of Vietnamese to come there in order to inflict them very heavy losses. So they want to create the bait, and with the victory over the Vietnamese regular troop, they can have the upper hand in any kind of negotiation. But the fact you may know, and all students may know, that they were not successful. And I think that
luckily for Vietnam.
Yeah. Of course, that there are some key factors here, but I want to emphasize the first thing, the decisive things, in my opinion, is that French, they underestimate Vietnamese, the whole nation determination and the leadership of great President Ho Chi Minh and senior General von Win-Zap. In a battlefield setting, you are in a valley and you are luring the Vietnamese troops to come. You must stop their line of supply and logistics. True. But they were not successful. And the same is true for American troops during Vietnam War. They cannot cut the Ho Chi Minh Trail from the north to the south, supplying for the Vietnamese troops in the south of Vietnam.
This is always a kind of a shocking theme to realize that the human factor, all in all, is the most important factor regarding also combat, wars, etc. It's not just the weaponry. Any monkey can operate this kind of weapon, but being united, having solidarity between the soldiers, having the same faith and belief in the same principles, it's something that you really can't beat.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with you, Mr. Isaac. And the other thing that you have just mentioned about the firepower, the overwhelming firepower of French troops, and especially with the massive support from U.S. at the time, they have dozens of tanks, they have hundreds of field artilleries and many aircraft, but they was not successful. And it was artillery from Vietnamese troops that took them, that they was taken aback, because they didn't estimate, they didn't anticipate that with the rugged terrain and very dangerous, and with the 24/7 bombardment from their air force, we cannot transport all the artillery to the battlefield, and that's one of the biggest mistake for them. And last but not least, I must mention the strategic vision shift from, how do I say, swift attack, swift win, to steady fighting and steady advancement. Because they have very strong defense. So if we are hasty, we come to them and we fall into their trap. Yeah, as a result, we Vietnamese troops, they encircle them with the intensive network of tunnels and combat trenches, and the situation become more and more appalling for the French troops. Right. And if you are under siege and you cannot stop the line supply of the enemy, the situation would be unthinkable.
Right. For sure.
So in short, I think that we respect our enemy. We learn a lot from our enemy and we will defeat them. Don't ever underestimate our enemy.
Yes, it's a very important advice, actually. Always. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Before we be able to thank again the ambassador of Vietnam, I would like to thank you, dear audience, for joining us in this conversation this morning. And I hope that you enjoyed it and that you had some insights regarding the relationships between Vietnam and Israel, and regarding also some insights about Vietnam itself, as were introduced by the Vietnamese ambassador. And right now, Mr. Ambassador would like to say a few words.
Thank you so much, the president of the university. Thank you very much, Dr. Isaac, for arranging all this. Thank you, the technical team and people involved in international cooperation of the Open University of Israel. I really highly appreciate the opportunity. And we are here today to start a new journey of academic cooperation between universities in Vietnam and your institution, the Open University. And I'm sure that through the stories of history and through different chapters of cooperation and relationship between countries, especially between Israel and Vietnam. For sure, we will work together to make the world a better place. Tikkun Olam. Thank you so much.
Hopefully. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.